Ready to order.
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card, so let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything! The Capital One Saver Card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu!
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
If you're a smoker or vapor, ready to make a change, you really only need one good reason. But with Zyn nicotine pouches, you'll discover many good reasons. Zyn is America's #1 nicotine pouch brand. Plus, Zyn offers a robust rewards program. There are lots of options when it comes to nicotine satisfaction. But there's only one Zyn. Check out Zyn.com/find to find Zyn at a store near you. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
The McDonald's snack wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch snack wrap. Spicy snack wrap. You broke the internet. For a snack. Snack wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day. Yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
This is the Daily Tech News for November 26th, 2025. We tell you what you need to know. We follow up on context and help each other understand.
Today we have a RAM shortage that's causing prices to skyrocket. But what does it mean for you?
Me? I'm Tom Merritt. What does it mean for me, Tom Merritt?
I'm Sarah Lane, and I'm looking forward to finding out.
We're both going to find out when we talk about the big story. Now, we've been telling you about stories for quite a while now, indicating the coming rise of RAM prices, the most recent being Lenovo stockpiling components. Today, Ars Technica's Andrew Cunningham and PC Gamer's Jacob Fox both have excellent explainers of what's going on, what's causing the rise. We'll have links to that in the show notes. Go read those if you want a thorough understanding. The short version is RAM prices have doubled or tripled for most variants over the past 3 months. That affects not only newer DDR5 memory, but DDR4 as well. And data center builders are the cause. They use high bandwidth memory. It's not used in consumer DDR5 memory, so it's not like they're buying the exact same thing, but demand for high bandwidth memory for DDR means there's less DDR to put out into the consumer market. So they're not really buying up your RAM exactly. They're just taking up the production lines for DDR to make their RAM. So yes, you can blame all those companies trying to build a bunch of data centers to serve LLMs. But there is more to it than just that. That's the primary reason, but there are some other pressures as well. We are in the midst of a transition to DDR5. More people are upgrading their RAM to take advantage of that and add that faster memory. So there is more demand for RAM right now than there would be at another part in the RAM cycle. That also means that DDR4 production is winding down. So there's less DDR4 being made. So if you can't find DDR5 and then you go looking for DDR4, well, there's less of that too. So that puts price pressure on DDR4. Solid-state drives are also rising a little bit, not nearly as steeply as RAM. And the reason for that is a little bit different. Data centers buy higher quality solid-state drives than consumers, so even more so than DDR5. It's a different component, but those higher quality SSDs are getting scarce. So you're seeing some data center makers starting to buy consumer-grade SSDs in a pinch. That is driving that price up as well. TrendForce actually notes that more cloud providers are buying consumer level quad level cell or QLC SSDs because traditionally infrequently used nearline hard drives, basically cold storage, good old magnetic hard drives, are also becoming scarce because everybody's buying them to build data centers. So really what's happening with the SSDs is not the same high usage SSDs they would use for their regular data center operations, but the cold storage stuff is getting hard to find hard drives for. So instead, they're buying your consumer grade SSDs because they're not going to use them as often in cold storage. So they'll just buy those and stick them in cold storage. Anyway, that's why the prices are rising. The good news is GPU prices are down. Remember, we used to talk about GPU prices being crazy. They are, are at
the COVID area GPU conversation. Very
We're
different.
finally out of that. GPU prices are at retail or sometimes below, although you might see a price rise in the future. In fact, AMD even said that they're probably going to have to raise their GPU prices by about 10%. The RAM used in GPU is different than the RAM we're talking about for DDR5, but it's made on the same production lines as the RAM that is in demand for the data centers. And so they can't make as much RAM for the GPUs, which means that's going to drive up the price of the GPUs. Now, original equipment manufacturers, the folks who sell you a PC that's already built, haven't hiked their prices yet. And so you'll see some fun stories out there where, like, buying a PlayStation 5 is actually cheaper than buying the RAM that's inside the PlayStation 5. But they are either being strategic, like Lenovo, so they've stockpiled components so they can lock in their price, or they contracted out for supplies ahead of time. That's something Apple has done, where they're like, we're going to get it at this price for the next 5 years. Doesn't matter what the market does. Or they're just figuring out how to survive with lower margins. Apple famously secures its RAM supplies ahead of time. So don't expect a raise in the price of Apple stuff, although they always overcharge for adding RAM anyway. Smaller makers, on the other hand, have less wiggle room. So if you're going with a boutique maker like a Doghouse Systems or something like that, you might see them have to push their price up. We'll find out. So what is next for all of this? Is there any hope? How long are you going to have to wait for these prices to come down? Well, the one thing they can do is make more factories to make more RAM. When the price goes up, if you're a manufacturer, you're like, ooh, if I made more RAM, I'd make more money. I should go make more RAM. However, building factories for this kind of stuff takes years, so that's not an immediate relief. Also, everybody's in the middle of moving factories outside of mainland China to Vietnam and India and the United States and Europe. And so they're already sinking a bunch of capital expenditures into new factories for lots of other reasons. That's also complicating the manufacturing process. And companies are going to be cautious about overbuilding because they don't want to get left with unused capacity once the demand eventually does subside. Ars Technica pointed out that memory shortages in late 2016 and 2017, if you recall, led to big price cuts in RAM in 2018 and 2019 because you had an oversupply. Eventually, the demand will drop, either because the LLM bubble pops and people stop building new data centers so fast, or we get more efficient at using this kind of stuff, the LLMs, and you don't need to build data centers even though the demand is still there. An imbalance is expected to continue until at least the first half of next year, according to the analysts who study this stuff really closely. And overall shortages might persist for 3 to 4 years. But honestly, Sarah, nobody really knows.
Okay, so as on the consumer side, knowing all of this information that you just laid out, if I was sort of to say, well, I was thinking of buying a new PC in January, how does this affect me? I don't work at a data center, but if data centers are buying more consumer level chips and RAM and, all the stuff we're talking about, how does this affect me?
Yeah, if you're buying an off-the-shelf PC, you might see price rises sometime next year. So maybe buying in January is a good idea because we haven't seen it hit the OEMs yet. Although, you might start to see it in January. So maybe you want to buy it sooner. If you're building your own PC, you might want to hold off. Or at least you might want to just upgrade a PC you already have with other components besides the RAM, because the RAM is ridiculously expensive at the higher ends. I would say if you're building a PC and you only need DDR4, even though it's more expensive, it's still less expensive than DDR5. Or if you need a smaller amount of DDR5, maybe you can get by and you pay more than you would have in August, but you could still build your PC and possibly build it cheaper than buying it off the shelf.
Your note of, getting a PlayStation that's less expensive than the RAM that goes inside a PlayStation, or, a lot of other, for folks who like to do a DIY kind of thing,
Yeah.
It's discouraging, I'm sure, to hear, you just buy it off the shelf. It's better than trying to do it yourself because prices are so crazy right now. They will probably regulate back to some sort of normal at some point. But, it's good info for anybody who's looking to go into a project like this.
Yeah, and it's probably not going to come back down anytime soon. I would look for creative ways to market RAM and see if people can help bring these prices down. But basically, all the people watching this are like, we don't know how long this is going to last. It's going to last for at least 6 months before the prices start to come back down. So holding off is probably your best bet, or buying off the shelf in the meantime. I imagine some people will try to take the RAM out of a PS5 and see if they can make that work. That's probably more difficult than it's worth for your time, unless you just have fun doing that sort of thing, right?
Yeah. Well, we have fun with all of our listeners because DTNS is made possible by you. Thank you to That Charlie Dude, Justin Zellers, Carmine Bailey, and we've got 2 new patrons we would like to congratulate for being part of the show,
Yay.
Maxime and Philip.
Maxime and Philip, you're the best.
Yay.
We are thankful for Maxime and Philip.
The McDonald's snack wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch snack wrap. Spicy snack wrap. You broke the internet. For a snack. Snack wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Banking with Capital One helps you keep more money in your wallet with no fees or minimums on checking accounts and no overdraft fees. Just ask the Capital One bank guy. It's pretty much all he talks about, in a good way. He'd also tell you that this podcast is his favorite podcast, too. Ah, really? Thanks, Capital One bank guy. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. Like, Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day. Yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
If you're a smoker or vapor, ready to make a change, you really only need one good reason. But with Zyn nicotine pouches, you'll discover many good reasons. Zyn is America's #1 nicotine pouch brand. Plus, Zyn offers a robust rewards program. There are lots of options when it comes to nicotine satisfaction. But there's only one Zyn. Check out Zyn.com/find to find Zyn at a store near you. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
There's more we need to know today. Let's get to the briefs.
Uber and China's WeRide have launched fully autonomous vehicles in the 12-square-mile tourist area called Yas Island in Abu Dhabi. Yas, Queen. Local taxi company Tawassul Transport handles maintenance and charging for the fleet. The companies plan to expand service to other parts of the city eventually, as well as to 15 more cities over the next few years. If you're on Yas Island and are headed somewhere else on the island, you can choose the autonomous option in the Uber app, although you're only going to get one if it's available. There are only so many. WeRide is using the cars from Geely based on its Verizon Supervan. Uber partners with different autonomous car makers in different regions, Waymo in the US, Baidu in Asia, and Momenta in Europe.
Yeah, I think Uber's strategy has proved to be a good one so far. It's still way early in the process, but it is interesting to see these start to stack up. Still limited districts in big cities, but it's starting to multiply faster, and you're seeing more companies do it. You're seeing Uber partner with various companies so that it can be the place that you hail the ride, no matter which company is operating in that particular area. Working with taxi companies, I find this story fascinating. It's like we've been waiting 10 years for the autonomous cars that were supposed to be here 5 years ago, but it looks like maybe we're starting to get them.
Well, and we talk a lot, obviously, on DTNS about which companies partner with each other to make the end experience for the consumer as frictionless as possible. And, if you care about that, then you do. But if you don't care and you're like, I want to go from point A to point B and I want an autonomous car to show up where I am and take me to that point B, then, we're inching ever toward that scenario.
Yeah, in some situations, you can do that.
Right, yeah. Depends on where you are and how much money you have.
Back in March, Plex announced that if you wanted to access someone's remote Plex server, you were going to have to start paying for a Plex pass. One way or the other. Either the server owner had to pay $7 a month for a Plex pass, then anybody can access it that they want. Or if the Plex server owner isn't paying, you as a guest can get what's called a remote watch pass for $2 a month. Or if you pay for one of the more expensive ones, that would work too. Those rules went into effect April 29th, but Plex wasn't enforcing them. They are now, finally. Plex's Roku app is the first to be affected, but they said that requirement is going to come to Fire TV. It's coming to Apple TV, Android TV, and others, and even its APIs into 2026.
Well, as a person who is Plex faithful, and I don't run my own server, but I am part of. I've been invited to other people who have nice, robust media servers on Plex. This hasn't affected me yet. It's very possible that the server owners are just paying for their own Plex pass, and so I just haven't gotten pinged yet. $2 a month would be totally understandable if that's what I have to pay in order to, watch content from other people's really big libraries. But and Fire TV, Apple TV, Roku, Android TV. I'm running off WebOS on my LG TV in the living room, which is where I watch pretty much all of my Plex content. I have noticed that on mobile it gets wonky, and that's probably what we're speaking towards. Plex is like, yeah, you need to pay for a Plex pass, and I'm like, what's that? Well, I just log in and I watch things.
If it's getting wonky, that's just network stuff. If Plex is going to make you pay for a pass, it'll just tell you, hey, you need to pay for a pass.
Well, that's what I mean by wonky.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
not wonky as in it doesn't play or plays weird. It's more of like, I get like pop-ups of like Plex pass. I don't know what that is. So, for
it's
anybody
confusing
else,
though, because they do try to make you think you should pay for a Plex pass, even if you don't, sometimes. So it may or may not have hit you yet, because apparently it's only hit the Roku app so far and not the mobile stuff, at least not yet.
Yeah. Listen, I for anybody who is lucky enough to have somebody who has just a great media library that they share with you, Plex is, I could not live without Plex. I really love it. It's not the only option out there, but it is a great one. Couple bucks a month. If I have to do that, fine.
Yeah.
I will do that.
Plex has really threaded the needle of making it easy to share without getting in trouble for copyright violations, not overcharging for people, although they've been irritating people with charging for things and providing services that some people are like, I don't care about renting movies. I don't care about fast services. But they're still trying to be consumer friendly, keep those prices from going crazy. And they are a profitable company, not a crazy profitable, like we're raking it in. But they are a company that's going to stay in business, which is important if you like Plex.
Indeed. Well, hot on the heels of reaching a deal with generative music maker Udio, Warner Music Group announced an agreement with Suno. The agreement ends litigation between the two companies and gives artists, quote, full control over whether and how their names, images, likenesses, voices, and compositions are used in new AI-generated music. New models will launch in 2026 that include improved controls and license data, and Suno will require a paid subscription in order to download creations. Suno also recently acquired music and content discovery platform Songkick from Warner Music. Songkick, yeah, it's still kicking. Warner Music also reached a deal with Stability AI, and Universal Music Group reached a deal with Udio last month. So we're doing a lot of hot potato here.
Peace in our time. Everybody's settling down. It's cuffing season for the music industry and AI. Yeah, it's funny to watch this. It's going to make some of the users of Suno and Udio a little grouchy because you're going to have to pay for more things now. Because they are now paying the artists that they are using to license. But it's going to make more artists available for you to legally remix songs and make stuff with. I think that's why Suno acquired Songkick. They're going to use that as not just discovery of music, but a way to have you interact with artists and have fun with their songs and, you know, change lyrics and stuff like that. There's going to be all kind of pitfalls along the way of, you know, people trying to do things that the artists don't want them to do. There's going to be plenty of artists who don't want this to be allowed. And that's part of all these deals is the artists can say, no, we do not want to be part of this. And I'm sure plenty of artists will. But we're kind of moving into the phase. And there was a story about Disney Plus potentially allowing remixing of video characters in their service as well. We're seeing companies starting to use these generative models as a way to let fans have a good time with their intellectual property.
Yeah, I feel like the short-term setback, I guess, monetarily, you know, for something like Udio or Suno, it had to happen, right? Or else you're going to go head to head with these, you know, the old school companies, and they're just going to kill you eventually. Yeah. And the service is going to go away. So this makes a lot of sense to me. You know, stuff, and maybe this is just because, I don't know, maybe I should be more of a creative person, you know, mentioning stuff like, you know, Disney, you know, allowing fans to get creative with stuff. It's like, where does all this stuff go? I mean, I get that I might send something to you, Tom, and be like, isn't this cute? You know, or funny or clever or whatever. But where does it all go? You know, I mean, what is the purpose of all of this?
Families and fan communities. That's the answer. With Disney, it's me and the kids remixed ourselves into Lilo and Stitch and had fun. And that doesn't go anywhere else.
Right.
It's
and it was a great Thanksgiving.
For your entertainment. You know, and maybe some of the music stuff is family as well. Like we changed the lyrics to Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters and made it about our daughters. Isn't that fun? But I think a lot of the music stuff also is for fan communities where you're like, you know, trading remixes and like, oh, what if she did this in a reggae style? Isn't that fun? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Well, big thanks to Lujuan73 for submitting this CNBC article into our subreddit, Daily Tech News Show subreddit at reddit.com/r/Daily Tech News Show. A survey from reviews.org found that the average person in the U.S. keeps their cell phone for 29 months. That's up from 22 months 9 years ago. Now that I found to be a perfectly reasonable thing to report on because it's like, oh, we're keeping phones longer because phones, you know, have reached that commodity stage, right? The improvements from one generation to another.
You got 7 more months of a perfectly fine phone.
Yeah, phones just don't have as much of a jump from one model to the other. However, CNBC turned it into the point that at the corporate level, it could delay productivity because the Federal Reserve found in a study released last month that each year a company delays upgrading equipment results in a productivity decline of 1/3%. So 0.333333%. Now, granted, that sounds really small. However, over time, that could be the difference, you know, a competitive advantage to another company. But we're talking about all the equipment in a corporation, not just the phones. Part of the CNBC report talked about how people tend to replace their personal equipment faster than corporations do because of the large expense in a corporation of rolling it out to everybody, and you have to vet it, and you have to train people on new software and stuff. So the piece at one point seemed to argue for bring your own device policies because everybody in your corporate family will have a personal device that's newer than the one that's issued by the corporation. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of them will. I felt like this article was kind of pushing something on this study that isn't there. Like going from 22 months to 29 months over 9 years, when you're talking about phones not really having as big of an advantage from year to year, I don't think that's going to cause much of a damage to the economy or to productivity. I don't know about you, Sarah, but I found that CNBC was kind of pushing the edge on this one.
Yeah, I mean, if the study came back as like people, now wait 2 years longer than they used to, to upgrade, hardware, then that would be something. 29 months versus 22 months, over the course of 9 years is okay. Well, you're making good hardware. People, we're hanging on to stuff and you're saving some costs. On the corporate level, I can see how that's a little bit different. I've definitely worked at companies where, they buy you a laptop, but it's theirs. It's not yours, and when you part ways with the company, it doesn't go with you. And that goes for phones as well. I have always been a big proponent of just let me use my stuff. Let me use my stuff
bring
because I know.
Device. Exactly.
Yes, bring your own device. Let me use my stuff. I know how it works. I am in control of it. And at any point that I have to, walk the other way, all my stuff comes with me. That just makes more sense. Now, of course, that is, depending on where you work and what you're doing, that might be cost prohibitive. But that's always been the way that I like to work.
Yeah, because there's a cost to maintaining security on other people's devices because now they're in that person's control. And there's lots of ways to do that. But that's a system of its own that's not free for a corporation to operate. I don't know. I look at this and I'm like, yes, there's an economic hit to the sellers of phones if you're not upgrading as much, but they have found other ways to make up for that by selling you services on the phone, selling you accessories for the phone. And that's not even where CNBC went with this one. They were like, no, it's the corporate thing. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know that is as much of a deal, especially when the study is talking about phones and the corporate equipment study from Federal Reserve was talking about all equipment like laptops, like you're talking about. I think that's a whole different situation.
There's also the, and I won't go too far down this rabbit hole, but the whole conspiracy theorist version of this is like, no, they make it so that you think your phone needs to be upgraded and you have to buy a new phone. I think this shows that companies aren't really doing that. Yeah. They're just making better phones that we like for a longer period of time.
Exactly. They're not making the phones. They're not disabling the phones so you have to buy one. They're making better phones, and we've gotten to a point where there's only so many improvements you could make. Back when the improvements were coming fast and furious because the product line was new, that's typical with new kinds of products. Right. Yeah, you would want to upgrade every year, but the marketing company, part of the companies obviously want to make you feel like you have to upgrade every year. But there's only so much. I don't think they engineer them that way.
Yeah.
Not on purpose. All right. Finally, some quick headlines. These are things that are good to know if you want to understand the news in the future.
OpenAI announced Tuesday that its voice mode will now be available in the chat interface, so you can see a transcript and visuals as it's happening instead of only seeing it when you're done talking.
I like that. I didn't like that I had to look back later. You could choose to keep it if you like it the old way, though. They let you do that in the settings. Charter AI. We talked earlier this week about the fact that they have banned teens from their product. They have launched an interactive fiction feature called Stories on Tuesday that lets those users younger than 18 use the service, but on guardrails, right? It's not just an open chat.
Qualcomm announced details for its mobile system on a chip, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5, with a lower speed and lower price than the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5 Elite. but with on-device AI processing. It'll show up in mid-ranged mobile devices in the coming weeks.
Taiwanese news organization UDN says its sources indicate Apple has developed a folding screen without a crease.
Ooh.
That's what Apple's been waiting for, I guess. Apparently, they've made about 100 of these devices on an exclusive production line from Foxconn and are now moving to the engineering validation stage of it.
I was just having a conversation with somebody yesterday, I guess it was, and I was like, I can't wait for the new Apple foldable iPhone. And they were like, why? What's going to be so great about it? And I'm like, I don't know.
Now you do.
I'm just ready. I'm ready for a form factor change.
Next time you see them, you can say no crease. That's what's going to be good.
Right. Yeah. The next company that hires me, I'm like, are you going to buy me a foldable or what?
Exactly.
YouTube Music has already started rolling out its 2025 recap. Everybody knows those recaps with a chat feature that lets you ask it about your listening over the past year.
Do I have good taste? That's what I'm going to ask mine.
What did I hear in April?
Counterpoint Research expects that sales of the iPhone 17 will push Apple back to being the top phone seller for the year this year, back in front of Samsung for the first time in more than a decade.
Yeah, I think it was 2011, which was the last time that Apple, superseded Samsung. So they're neck and neck right now. But for anybody who cares about percentages like this, Apple is the iPhone 17 line has been pretty successful.
Big sales in China. That made all the difference.
Yeah. A study from MIT and Hugging Face found that downloads of open LLMs from China rose 17% this year, while downloads for U.S. models rose 15.8%. So both are rising, but China faster. That's the first time China has passed the U.S. in open model downloads.
In celebration of finishing our 12th year of DTNS, we are giving everybody 12% off stuff. If you're a new patron, if you haven't been a patron before, you can sign up to become a patron for 12% off from now through the end of the week, patreon.com/DTNS. And if you're like, I want 12% off something, but I'm already a patron, use the code DTNS Rocks at our store. In fact, non-patrons can do this too. Just go to dailytechnewsshow.com/store. Use the code DTNS Rocks. We'll give you 12% off. Why 12%? Because we've been doing DTNS for about 12 years at the end of this month. So thanks everybody for supporting us for 12 years. Here's 12% off. Enjoy. dailytechnewsshow.com/store.
Banking with Capital One helps you keep more money in your wallet with no fees or minimums on checking accounts and no overdraft fees. Just ask the Capital One bank guy. It's pretty much all he talks about, in a good way. He'd also tell you that this podcast is his favorite podcast, too. Ah, really? Thanks, Capital One bank guy. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
If you're a smoker or vapor, ready to make a change, you really only need one good reason. But with Zyn nicotine pouches, you'll discover many good reasons. Zyn is America's #1 nicotine pouch brand. Plus, Zyn offers a robust rewards program. There are lots of options when it comes to nicotine satisfaction. But there's only one Zyn. Check out Zyn.com/find to find Zyn at a store near you. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
We end every episode here on DTNS with some shared perspectives. Today, Andrew in Montreal relates a strange occurrence.
Yeah, and Andrew writes, hi, Tom and the DTNS crew. Got a letter from Google saying they're changing my UK Gmail account location to my official residence here in Canada. Being an expat, I visit the UK for long periods fairly often. My UK ID is tied to that address, various UK warranties, and it's my UK contact info. I guess it's mostly cosmetic, but then maybe it's more for targeted advertising. Cheers,
I would say
Andrew
so.
in Montreal. Yeah. It's probably for the advertising.
That would be my guess, Andrew.
If anyone else has an idea of why they would do this, let us know. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com.
And it doesn't sound like Andrew is all that upset about it.
He just thought it was weird. Yeah.
Yeah. But, if there's a situation where you're like, hey, this actually screws my life up in some way, I'd love to hear about that too. What are you thinking about? Speaking of hearing about things, if you have insight to a story we talk about, something that we might talk about in the future, share all of that with us. We want to hear from you. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com.
Big thanks to Andrew in Montreal for contributing to today's show. Thank you for being along for Daily Tech News Show. You keep us in business. Get that 12% off. Become a patron. Patreon.com/DTNS. This week's episodes of Daily Tech News Show were created by the following people. Host, producer, and writer Tom Merritt. Host and writer Jason Howell. Co-host Sarah Lane. Co-host Rob Dunwood. Producer Anthony Lemos. Producer Roger Chang. Editor Hammond Chamberlain. Editor Victor Bognot. Contributing producers Kevin Tech, Noel Cow, and Brandon Richards. Science correspondent Dr. Nikki Ackermans. Social media producer and moderator Zoe Detterding. Our mods, Beatmaster W. Scottus 1, BioCow, Captain Kipper, Steve Guadarrama, Paul Reese, Matthew J. Stevens, a.k.a. Gadget Virtuoso, and J.D. Galloway. Mod and video hosting by Dan Christensen. Music provided by Martin Bell and Dan Looters. Art by Len Peralta. Acast ad support from Tatiana Matias. Patreon support from Bobby Wagner. Our guests this week were Michelle Rahman and Andy Beach. And thanks to all our patrons who make the show possible.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Banking with Capital One helps you keep more money in your wallet with no fees or minimums on checking accounts and no overdraft fees. Just ask the Capital One bank guy. It's pretty much all he talks about, in a good way. He'd also tell you that this podcast is his favorite podcast, too. Ah, really? Thanks, Capital One bank guy. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.